And watch this space. We'll be back with more news. And from electricitymagazine.ca, diplomacy. Tehran and Baghdad signed a border security agreement. Iraq's National Security Advisor Qasem al-Araji meets with Iran's Supreme National Security Council Ali Shamkhani in Baghdad on March 19, 2023. Iraqi Defense Minister or Defense Media Center reported. Senior Iranian defense official Ali Shamkhani signed an agreement in Baghdad on Sunday to protect the border between Iran and Iraq, where anti-Iran Kurdish groups targeted by Tehran are based. Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Zia al-Sudani's office said. The agreement includes coordination in the defense of common borders and coordination of cooperation in several security areas, Iraqi services noted. The visit comes ahead of the 20th anniversary of the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq. Today, ties between Baghdad and Tehran are closer than ever, and Mr. Soudani's government is backed by a pro-Iranian parliamentary coalition. However, some Western capitals caution against Iran's greater influences in neighboring Iraq, which has seen the U.S. as its biggest enemy since the '79 Islamic Revolution. Iran's official news agency IRNA reported on Sunday that Ali Shamkhani had attacked anti-security and evil activities by counter-revolutionary and terrorist forces in the region and northern Iraq. He said the agreement signed on Sunday can completely and fundamentally end the evil activities of these groups. These anti-Iranian Kurdish units that took refuge in northern Iraq were bombed by Iran in late 2022, which Tehran accused of infiltrating its territory to carry out attacks and incite demonstrations. The Iraqi government redeployed its border guards to contain tensions. At the time, Iran was rocked by a protest movement following the death on September 16th of a young Kurdish woman, Mahsa Amini, who was arrested by paramilitary forces for violating the woman's dress code. Iraq was one of the mediators in the discussion between Iran and Saudi Arabia, which cut diplomatic ties in 2016 and announced the resumption on March 10th. Ali Shamkhani was the mastermind behind the Iranian side. During his visit to Baghdad, he was accompanied by the governor of the central bank and the deputy minister responsible for economic affairs, IRNA reported. Trade is essential for both partners, especially in terms of energy. Iraq's highly dependent on its neighbors for gas and electricity. And from MENA, Iran's top security official in Baghdad as border security agreement is signed. Iraq and Iran on Sunday signed an agreement to improve security cooperation between the two neighboring countries, focusing mainly on protecting the borders, according to statements issued by the Iraqi Prime Minister's office. Iran's Supreme National Security Council Secretary Ali Shamkhani, who flew to Iraq's capital, Baghdad, earlier on Sunday, signed the accord with his Iraqi counterpart, National Security Advisor Qasem al-Araji, in the presence of Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, the statement said. The headquarters of Turkey's Kurdistan Workers' Party of PKK and the Kurdish Democratic Party of Iran, KDPI, are in Iraq's Kurdistan region. They've recently been the targets of almost daily cross-border attacks by Turkey and Iran. Iran and Turkey accused the groups of activities in Iraqi territory to destabilize their security by either launching attacks or fueling unrest. Under pressure from Ankara and Tehran, Iraq late last year sent border guard units to its border with the two countries in an effort to stop continuous attacks by dissident Kurdish groups. During his meeting with Mr. Shamkhani, Mr. al-Sudani stressed on Iraq's firm stance that he rejects using Iraqi territories as a launching pad for aggressions against neighboring countries, said the statement. Mr. al-Sudani also underlined his firm rejection of letting Iraqi territories be a harbor for armed groups. While on his way to Baghdad, Mr. Shamkhani visited a memorial to Major General Qasem Soleimani on the airport road. The former commander of Quds Force, a division of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, and Iraqi militia leader Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis were assassinated in a U.S. drone attack in January 2020. Shortly after he left Tehran for Baghdad, Mr. Shamkhani's office said both countries discussed economic and security issues, the head of Iran's central bank, and senior diplomats accompanied by Mr. Shamkhani. The visit by Mr. Shamkhani came days after Iran and Saudi Arabia agreed to restore diplomatic relations in a deal brokered by China. On Thursday, Mr. Shamkhani visited the UAE and met President Sheikh Mohammed and other senior officials to discuss opportunities for enhancing cooperation between the two countries. UAE's official WAM news agency reported. Mr. Shamkhani said his visit was a meaningful beginning for the two countries to enter a new stage of political, economic, and security relations. Iran's run IRNA news agency reported. Riyadh had severed ties with Tehran in 2016 after Iranian protests stormed the Saudi embassy in the Iranian capital following the execution of Shiite cleric in Saudi Arabia. Beginning in 2021, Baghdad hosted several rounds of talks between Saudi Arabia and Iran on the normalization of relations. Oman also played a role in repairing those relations. This month, Riyadh and Tehran's deal to restore diplomatic relations and to reopen embassies brought hopes of reducing tensions in this region, mainly in Yemen, where Saudi Arabia has been at war with the Iran-aligned Houthi militia since 2015. And, this is, I'm not sure the location of the production of this source, but there has to be some evolution of language. Of course, we have to stop mispronouncing. In Anglo cultures, we have to stop mispronouncing Iran and Iraq, and also to say that the Houthis are a militia, and simply that when they're a political entity, just as Hezbollah and Hamas are, we must say that they're political entities, especially in diplomatic environments. Not unlike what I want this project, TR News, to be. So, diplomatically, the Houthis are not a militia. Diplomatically, the Houthis have been elected. Hamas has been elected. Hezbollah has been elected. So, they move beyond being militias and, violent extremists. And when they're, summoned by their people to represent them on the political stage. And from TVP World, Iraq and Iran signed deal to tighten border security. Iraq and Iran have signed a new border security agreement at tightening security on the frontier with Iraq's Kurdish region. According to Iraqi officials, the deal includes coordination to protect the common borders between the two countries and consolidate cooperation in several security fields. The joint security agreement was signed by Iran's Supreme National Security Council Secretary Ali Shamkhani and Iraq's National Security Advisor Qassam al-Araji. The Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed al-Sudani was also present. One Iraqi security official who attended the signing revealed that under the signed security deal, Iraq pledges it would not allow armed groups to use territories in the Iraqi Kurdish region to launch any border-crossing attacks on neighboring Iran. Iran has accused Kurdish dissidents of posing a threat to its security and has been concerned about the presence of Israeli spy agency Mossad in the autonomous Iraqi Kurdish region. And this is preposterous what's happening with the Kurds, right? So we have an issue, they have an issue recognizing a Houthi government, but they somehow recognize the autonomy of a Kurdish region in between Iraq and Iran. Last year, Iran's Revolutionary Guards launched missile and drone attacks against Iranian Kurdish groups based in northern Iraq, accusing them of fomenting protests that were sparked by the death of an Iranian Kurdish woman while in police custody. Speaking in Tehran, Iran Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian said that Shamkhani's current trip to Iraq has been planned for 4 months and is focused on issues related to the armed groups in northern Iraq. He added that Iran would not expect threats from Iraqi territories. The new agreement is expected to bring greater cooperation between Iraq and Iran in several security fields, which could help improve the security situation in the region. The deal also highlights the importance of maintaining strong ties between the two countries to ensure peace and stability in the region. And from Al-Manar, Shamkhani to sign Iran-Iraq security deal in Baghdad visit. Security of Iran's Supreme National Security Council Ali Shamkhani will reportedly sign a bilateral agreement on security cooperation with Iraq during a visit to Baghdad. Accompanied by Governor of the Central Bank of Iran and 2 foreign ministry deputies, Shamkhani left Tehran for Baghdad on Sunday morning at the invitation of Iraq's National Security Advisor Qasem al-Araji. In addition to meetings with senior Iraqi political and economic officials, Shamkhani is scheduled to sign a document on mutual security cooperation that was being prepared for months. The agreement would commit Iran and Iraq to safeguarding the principles of good neighborliness and protecting the common border. The deal is believed to have a significant role in ending the illegal presence of anti-Iranian armed groups and the elements affiliated with the Zionist regime in the Iraqi areas adjacent to Iran's northwestern border regions. Shamkhani's visit to Iraq, made days after a landmark trip to the United Arab Emirates, comes after Iran and Saudi Arabia announced their decision to restore ties. Following days of intensive talks in Beijing, Iran and Saudi Arabia agreed on March 10th to resume their diplomatic relations and reopen their embassies and diplomatic missions within at most 2 months. Arab governments neighboring Iran have eagerly welcomed the rapprochement between the two regional heavyweights. And from newsjohnny.com, signing agreement between Iraq and Iran to tighten border security. A statement from the Iraqi Prime Minister and his office said the joint security agreement includes protecting the common borders between the two countries and strengthening cooperation in several security sectors. Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council Ali Shamkhani signed the agreement with Iraq's National Security Advisor Qasem al-Araji in the presence of Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed al-Sudani. The Iraqi minister says the $27 billion total energy deal is in the final stage of negotiations, and under the signed security agreement, Iraq promises not to allow armed groups to use its territory in the Iraqi Kurdish region to launch any cross-border attacks on neighboring Iran, an Iraqi security official said. The border gained renewed attention last year when Iran's Revolutionary Guard launched missile and drone strikes against Iranian Kurdish groups based in northern Iraq, accusing them of fomenting protests that led to a Iranian Kurdish woman after his death in police custody. Shamkhani's current visit to Iraq has been planned for 4 months and is focused on issues related to armed groups in northern Iraq, Amir Abdullahian said in a speech to Tehran. He added that Islamic Republic of Iran will not accept threats from Iraqi terrorists under any circumstances. And watch this space, we shall return. Remember, your engagement through a like, share, subscribe will accelerate us at warp speed towards the continuation of our mission to truthfully go where no news will have been going before.